now. We had some webcam issues yesterday, but how's everybody doing? Good, good. Good morning. All right. I think we are all set. So let's go ahead and begin. My name is Jared. This is Engineering the Market. It is October 13th, 2021. And let's just start off with how we start most weeks. Take a look at our SPX. So as always, we mark off the SPX expected move on the week. We're looking for sort of the ability of the market to move in either direction and what sort of the volatility is saying about the overall range that the option market depicts risk. So as you can see, the SPX is still sort of trading in that mid-range area. So things are relatively normal in regards to our weekly expected move. It's also worth mentioning that we are pretty close to where we opened the following week. So we've essentially had some technical structure start to form in our SPX in regards to a gap fill. As we shift over into our SPY, we can start to see this more clearly on yesterday's session and just kind of take notice to some of the price action from yesterday. So worth mentioning that the gap fill was fairly complete by Tuesday's session. And of course, yesterday we spent a lot of time inside of the market sort of at our volume point of control. This is that 435 price range, and it also represented approximately previous day close from the prior Tuesday session. As you dig in, you can start to see how consistent that price action was in the morning session with no clear directionality, but a lot of inventory and transactions occurring at this price zone. And this is sort of normal behavior when it comes to volume point of control or high volume nodes inside of a volume profile study. It simply is where the market deems price to be relatively fair between buyers and sellers. There's no clear advantage in terms of bias in regards to buyers having a bit of an edge near the low end and sellers having a bit of an edge near the top end. You're simply back where you came from, and the market likes to transact in these zones, often without any sort of catalyst or additional reason to expand the range. So as traders, one of the advantages we have, of course, is using different tools to try and capture price action, whether it be directional or non-directional in nature. And one of the things that we've discussed in recent history is the idea of using sort of lower risk and lower reward setups when the market is not necessarily in a very strong bull or bear trend. The idea here is that over the past couple of weeks, we've seen price action occur in both directions. And by taking advantage of things like vertical spreads inside of the option toolbox, or even just going into wider risk positions, the idea that you widen your stop due to the volatility and essentially just take lower share size positions for those who are simply buying shares, you can capture larger relative moves. And the purpose of all of that is to avoid one, getting caught sort of off guard with a market that does have the ability to gap against us. And two, whenever we get to these positions here where the market sort of resets some of the directional bias, we can also look to take non-directional plays. For those in the option world as well, things like condors, straddles and strangles, or even butterflies are often good starting points to have a bit of delta neutral positionality in the market. And that often can be seen when we get to these higher volume nodes. Keep in mind as well that this is not just a short-term VPOC. If I bring it back to the past 90 days, this area is VPOC for most of the price action that's occurred over the past 3 months. So the market has sort of confirmed this over time by transacting more and more and basically solidifying this volume shelf. So one reason to think that the market hasn't really made a decision quite yet is due to the fact that we do have some economic data coming out this week. As we know, this is the beginning of earnings season, and one of the more important set of earnings is coming out in regards to, I bring up our S&P 100, a lot of our bank earnings. Now, we should be hearing from the first candidate, and that's JP Morgan, very soon in regards to its before market time, and it should be around, looks like 8 o'clock. So 9 o'clock market time. But that's just the beginning of this sort of week of earnings. We are shifting into additional bank earnings throughout Thursday's session. And then, of course, one of our larger banks inside of the Dow with Goldman Sachs. Oh, so the earnings have been released. Okay, well, that's good to know. So we're getting some of this information soon, but additionally, some additional economic data is also coming out. If I go ahead and clear this filter, you can see that we also have CPI up to bat. As we've discussed in previous sessions, markets do like to pay attention to some of these metrics coming out in regards to either inflation concerns, whether or not it sort of aligns with previous job reports or PPI reports as well, and sort of putting all that information together to get a sense of the economic condition for that month, especially when looking close with month-to-month percentages. And then, of course, with year to year, it's always going to be a bit skewed as we are looking back into 2020. And that was a particularly unique type of year with what would happen with COVID. So as we have a market that isn't necessarily choosing a direction with a lot of high conviction, and as we've landed on VPOC and from a technical sense, it can be worthwhile to look at some of this information coming out today and also pay attention to what some of these bank reports are, bank earnings, and also the actual conference calls. What are some of our main stocks and our main companies talking, referring to in regards to what they're doing about inflation or even some of the adjustments that they've had to make in regards to lending practices, or what does their report say about retail involvement with their company. So as we look back into just our technicals, SPY really did not have a directionally biased sort of day. I would say that bias was a bit skewed to the downside as the market still is in the daily downtrend, but that obviously did not take place until the afternoon session. One thing that can sort of help with that bias is looking across different indices. And just like the SPY, the Qs had a fairly choppy and challenging sort of directional day. On the short term, you can see that price action that occurred in the SPY as well as the NASDAQ, but we were seeing volatile spikes both higher and lower throughout the session, with the afternoon closing relatively poor. As we look at our daily and bring it back to our normal moving averages, once again, that gap fill perspective, that of course was closed on Tuesday. And what's interesting about this is not necessarily that the gap was filled, but oftentimes on a gap fill, you're looking for the opposite response. Essentially, if you get a large gap to the upside and the gap does decide to be filled relatively quickly, you're expecting some sort of bullish demand to return once that gap is filled, basically to return back to that high point. The market has not been doing this as of late, so that is sort of an interesting divergence from a normal gap fill thesis. You often play into the gap until it is completely filled. And then obviously, if you're looking for the opposite effect, you look to sort of reposition either long or short and basically play the direction of the gap in the first place. So some nuances there and some differences from a technical perspective. It's also worth mentioning that the Qs are having trouble reclaiming this relative swing low. This is something that I think from that gap fill perspective would have been nice to see from a bullish tone. And that, of course, has not happened. So we're still obviously in this daily downtrend, but additionally, we haven't really come to test this upper resistance. We're sort of fading a bit lower from it. And that is, once again, worth mentioning as we potentially come back into our trend line support and look back into longer time frames to see, is that something that has occurred in recent history? Oftentimes these tests near this channel support are not necessarily strong reactions to the upside. They do take a couple of weeks to sort of form back in the bullish direction. So if the market is going to do a similar thing to what it's done on these tests, we need to give this market a bit more time to see if that develops. And obviously right now, things do not look constructive for the bulls. On yesterday's session, we did see a bit of potential upside in the IWM. This, of course, is a little bit of a different marketplace, and it's often worth mentioning differences in markets that may be preparing for larger moves. The IWM did sort of have a choppy, relatively bullish day. We saw some decent volatility throughout, but the market did close a bit higher and did sort of push a little bit higher before the afternoon close. Some stocks inside the IWM are starting to perk back up, and there's also a bit of a bullish, I would say, resurgence back into sectors and industries that were performing recently. So I guess last notes on the IWM, very choppy, of course, on the daily, not a lot of bias and direction, but as we're seeing the price converge into this price level, and as we know, volume profile says we're at VPOC, it is more likely than not that this will start to break in one direction as this compression continues. Essentially, the market can only get so tight without a breach of one of these swing highs or swing lows, and that can set the stage for a larger than normal move if the continuation goes in that breach. So you kind of want to be thinking about people who are putting stops at each of these swing highs and lows. If the market chooses a direction, they will eventually have to stop out, and new demand or supply, I would say, momentum will enter that market to help move it forward. So still something on watch, hasn't quite moved yet, but definitely getting into that sort of pay attention type of mode. And then finally, our Dow, I would say similar to the analysis on the SPY and the Qs, just noting that the Dow has not been printing new swing lows. We are seeing, once again, sort of rising price action. And even with this gap fill thesis, we actually finished filling the gap on yesterday's session. So if the market is to move higher, the Dow might be something to watch as sort of a earlier indicator or maybe a leading indice. Okay, so some of these sectors and industries that started to perk up, and then we'll look at a few key stocks from yesterday's session. Most people had seen inside the chat room, but we did see uranium starting to pick back up. Whether you're looking at an ETF or a stock, it was pretty much an all industry sort of breakout. And as with most major moves, they often have larger than average pullbacks. They basically extend farther as people start to realize that there is something much more significant occurring. And as swing traders, this is sort of the moment to start doing a bit of analysis. Obviously, if you miss the first leg of the move, be prepared for these larger pullbacks. We simply need to sort of consolidate some of these gains once a high is placed, but additionally just use sort of normal metrics to decide when to maybe enter positions and when to consider getting out as the setup is not performing in your favor at that time. One thing I like to use is just simple Fibonacci. So just from low to high, something like Quad U, which is Energy Fuels, one of the main runners that occurred during the first run. You can notice that this stock pulled back about 50%. And this is a pretty normal sort of buying zone when you're expecting either the next leg of a larger overall move, or you're just looking for something like a weekly or monthly swing low and then setting up a lower high on the weekly or monthly. Basically just playing the short-term sort of moves through these Fibonacci retracements. Now, that is one stock. Not all of them, of course, set up quite the same, but you can notice some similarities here. CCJ, of course, pulled back to the 50, started to breach into the 61.8, another sort of important golden pocket zone. And that, of course, was able to hold in this range and see some of that upside occur a few sessions later. Let's see, you are in MN. No. Great. Trying to remember all the tickers off the top of the head. You can just pull down you, Roy. I know this one. Just showing the similarities here. Same analysis, same anchor points. This stock, Uranium Royalty, coming into the 61.8. This is often a more key level to consider. I would say a pullback to the 50 sort of has that risk of a larger sort of test to the 61.8. And this is the idea that most market participants, they see the strong uptrend, but they don't expect the pullback to come this far. And depending on your style as a swing trader, you can be looking for these examples or even positioning yourself somewhere in this range with a bit of a wider stop, expecting the market to give you sort of that monthly to weekly lower high, at the very least coming back to test some of these upper ranges. So just some examples of how to potentially take advantage of moves like this in the future. Obviously, the more involved you are with the first leg, the more, I would say, advantageous it can be. Basically looking for that volume to start to pick up and basically trusting the momentum until it stops, but not necessarily disregarding it once it starts to pull back. Keeping your attention and focus on this, and then putting alerts in these ranges. If markets give you those opportunities, they can be great buy points for the second move. Now, another area of interest on yesterday's session was solar. I like to use the TAN ETF. It kind of gives you just a general picture of the solar space. And in this ETF, some things to notice. We did have some, pull it up to just a 1 year weekly. We did have some volatility as we printed monthly, sort of yearly highs back at about 125. And as this started to pull down in previous history, it did form some support around the 81 price level. You can see multiple weekly lows setting up here. And then, of course, a sell-off that broke this level. You'll also see the respect of that level on the back test, but that was able to transition back into this upper range and basically form the potential for this market to start to consolidate and form another sort of leg higher if a new support zone was held. I would say that this price level became more important, approximately 77. As you can see on the daily, this was held a few attempts along with this position here. These are often very key setups for moving larger markets. And what the market is kind of showing us here is that there was an attempt to move lower, but the demand was strong enough and the potential for this consolidation to break out was enough to where the bulls were able to capture this breakdown. Essentially, the first time we breached this low with the daily close, and they were able to recapture it on this daily. Now, of course, this doesn't always work, but most people think of this as more of a false breakdown. And when the market does this, you can either expect it to move back and test the upper range, basically something like this high. Market came into this low, and now you can see that we're accelerating on both a retracement breakout along with this false breakdown to get this market moving, at the very least, to test something like this high point here. So this type of analysis can be good if you're focusing on a particular sector. Not only can you start to position once you know where buying demand is set, that of course has to be done with larger range reactionary lows, but you can also be looking for these sort of spring scenarios. For those who know about the Wyckoff methods, oftentimes these false breakdowns will trigger the larger moves in the opposite direction. So always worth watching and just sort of being prepared for them, because if your stop, of course, is too tight in these areas, you will become victim to what the market is doing, which is essentially grabbing your stop before it goes on a major run. So some names in this sector, depending on how you're deciding to look at playing this, can be stocks like Enphase, ENPH, Solar Edge, forgetting the ticker name off the top of my head there, SEDG, and First Solar. Of course, as it goes down, the weightings are going to be lower. You can even be looking at J&K or Run, which often are more volatile names. They have larger percentage moves, but can be a little tricky to understand where supply and demand sits. All right, so as we get into the tail end of this session, let's look at a few key stocks that had some important price action yesterday. I would say one of the more notable names has been Facebook. Now, a lot of people have been seeing Facebook sell off, and it's worth mentioning that Facebook was one of our weakest large market cap names in previous history. But yesterday, something started to change. We obviously got to an important area on the daily. The 200-day moving average. If you were trading this intraday, you'll notice that the marketplace was giving a lot of volatility near this low in Facebook. And then once this breached, we had multiple sort of trend pullbacks to something like a 50 period on the 5. And this led Facebook to close very strong on the session. Once again, noting that this is counter what the market did. Market actually closed poor, Facebook closed strong. Additionally, as we are entering this area, you can think about some sort of the swing trade analysis here. Swing traders like to sort of position themselves based on daily candles. And often if you do get a closure above something like a pin bar at the right price levels, you often will see swing traders start to get involved, looking to push this stock back up to notable targets. Now, first and foremost, we probably want to be looking at just where did this stock come from. The stock came from approximately a 4 to 5 day balance range. And if you are looking bullish at Facebook, you can maybe expect that this stock may give that pullback before consolidating or essentially not having a directional bias. That is, of course, on the bullish side. And one thing we want to look at is do some other indicators sort of confirm that. When you look at the daily, we're actually entering a pocket of volume. And if buyers are stepping in before getting to this larger shelf, they do have the potential to at least retest something like a large volume node from a more conservative perspective, or even to retrace this volume shelf as a whole. And that brings us pretty close to these sort of swing lows and the range high, sort of the back test of this area. Additionally, if you bring it down into the sort of the swing trade perspective, the shorter time frames, you can see that we did get into a breach of the VA low. When you think volume profile, the edge as a buyer often comes in when you start to break this level. Basically, you're looking for this market to be too extended and start to catch itself in regards to a bounce. So with Facebook, some other targets could be, of course, this 10-day VPOC, and that brings us to about 333. So worth mentioning, Facebook, of course, has a daily sort of buy setup from a swing trading perspective. It is a stock that bucked the downtrend or the selling pressure from yesterday's session. And I think a lot of people were sort of looking for a bottom inside of Facebook to maybe start positioning themselves for that recovery bounce. So all these sort of factors combined, and the fact that we do have some technical targets here, be looking for Facebook either to be a stock in play or to at least sort of hit some of these upside targets if this continues. Another stock that had some volatility yesterday is Apple. Now, most of this volatility came near the end of the session, but we did see some early news in regards to costs, indicating that there were, let's see if I can bring up that exact circulation of a U.S. patent trial, appeal board document showing company prevailed in Apple intellectual property right patent challenge. So that news in the short term affected cost stock a bit more than Apple stock. You can see when that news came out, the stock actually rallied into the close with a large momentum move, and we're seeing after hours and pre-market have continuation. But what's interesting for Apple came a bit later. We got reports that Apple was poised to slash some iPhone production goals due to the chip shortage, or the chip crunch is what they mention. Some of the suppliers, more notably, are struggling to deliver those chips, and those suppliers include Broadcom, which is AVGO. That did see a little bit of a sell-off into this morning session. That is a stock that has been relatively holding well inside of the volatility of the market, but we are seeing that selling pressure come in yesterday. So another key stock that may or may not necessarily be hitting the downside target, and when we think about that and how that could affect the market as a whole, we'll bring up a weekly just to show if the selling pressure matters for Apple stock, we can expect maybe a breakdown of this weekly range and start to begin testing this channel support, something that has not occurred yet on Apple, but has occurred on the NASDAQ. So we do have a bit of a back and forth scenario here. Obviously, these larger market cap names matter more to the NASDAQ than smaller names with smaller market caps, but how they affect and how they perceive risk in regards to other chip suppliers, or even just some of the volatility we've seen with semiconductors, that can sort of perpetuate these breakdowns and lead to these larger moves. So I'm getting some mention of some names that you want to look at. Let's do that inside of the chat itself. Won't have enough time here. But as we wrap up things here, just wanting to note that we do have economic data that is likely to cause some volatility in the next couple of minutes. Be on the lookout for that with the CPI. Additionally, I would even say that some of that volatility may be starting to find its way into the crypto market. For those who are keeping track, Bitcoin did finally hit a relative top in the past couple of days. Most, I would say, conservative bulls and sort of aggressive bears have been looking for this area to be formed, as this sort of uptrend inside of Bitcoin has been very strong. You'll note that as we got into this high point volatility started to come in as we were potentially back testing our swing high from the larger correction. And additionally, we're back at a large distribution zone set by some of the all-time high price action. So I think a lot of bears were starting to expect that this could set up a daily pullback. And even more notably, if you pull something back to the 1 hour, we're starting to lose the moving average support that is held throughout this uptrend. Something like the 20 and the 100. I think for those involved with the mentorship, I had the wrong moving average involved, but something as simple as these moving averages has been providing support on, I would say, expansion, along with the retest leading into new highs. Now that, of course, has come back into a large zone of approximately 55,000. And for now, this consolidation can take place with the understanding that if we lose our neckline, we can have some more downside pressure. So, for those in the crypto space, be looking either for Bitcoin to maybe consolidate for the next couple of sessions, along with maybe some different altcoins taking the lead. You'll often see that whenever the Bitcoin dominance chart starts to cool off, and that has been happening in the past couple of sessions. So we're finally seeing that high being placed inside of dominance, and that can lead to altcoin outperformance. So with that, that's the end of my time. So my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Market. Stay tuned for more tomorrow. We'll see what some of this economic data has to say. We'll see what the market does with that information in hand. And as always, trade safe. Stay tuned for pre-market prep.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the pre-market prep. I hope you're having an amazing morning. Hope you had a great day yesterday. Good morning, Norm. How are you doing today?
Morning, brother. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing real good.
Every morning I come in here and I get in pretty early and start going over news and checking things.
Yeah.
One of these mornings I'm going to walk in and the gappers list isn't going to just suck. I don't know which day.
Yeah. Hopefully before Friday. I mean, you don't have a lot of time left, but hopefully before Friday, we can get something decent. And guys, you've been seeing how it's been putting our list together. What we had on our watch list yesterday, 4 tickers, and 2 of these, I don't think they were not even in our gappers list yesterday. Facebook and Apple. It's just stuff we're watching based on all the news that's going on. So. Yeah, and if you go through some of these possibles that we had, they were probably Plug was the only one that did something great. The rest were not that good. So yeah, no, I'm with you, man. It hasn't been all that good. And looking at this gappers list right now, you can tell there's a couple of low flow stuff in the green this morning, some in the red, and I could tell by the ticker names this is going to be interesting. I mean, we have DATS and BBIG here. When these two are a big chunk of your list, it's not very hopeful. So, Guys, let's take a quick look at what we had yesterday on our list, starting with MGM, which was actually very good yesterday, guys. Did not have a pre-market action at all, but we knew there has a catalyst on here, and that played out real nice after the bell. Look at this beautiful pop there. Gave you a very small pullback before the candle ended, a little bit after the next 5 minutes. So you could have taken that for open range breakup. Again, you had to act very fast because the pullback was not that big. But look at these levels we're breaking, which I love here. This 46 level we had on our daily, we stopped right on there. We're able to find more buyers and look at the next leg up. So this traded very, very well yesterday. It opened up, guys, around 45.25. The top of this run is $48. So again, that's a very, very nice big move on MGM there just to get going. Does come down to the VWAP and then goes back towards that high. And now here's where you start looking for that high of day breakout, right? Couple of tries here, a little bit of a fake out. You probably could have got 40, 50 cents out of that. But then once again, third time trying to break out of the high of the day, you get this next run to 49. So again, you had some fun with MGM if you were patient and you were waiting for these breakouts to take place. Here's Annie. Annie was a great short yesterday. We'll just continue to downtrend here on the 9 moving average. We saw right before the market opened, we had this level at 766. 76, excuse me. It bounced off of that. More, not really a rising level, but very close. You want to see this action a little bit into the market open, and then you see the drop, losing all these levels we had here. 776 heads down all the way to 742, cannot find support here, and drops even further. So beautiful short there on Annie. I didn't really watch the price action on this one. By the time I looked at it, it was all the way down there. I don't know if we even had shorts yesterday. I don't recall on this one.
I don't think we did, but I could be wrong.
I don't think we did for some reason. Here, his Facebook guys, again, didn't have a great pre-market activity, but their daily's interesting, and they've just been in the news so much that we definitely have to keep an eye on these guys. Very rough start. This candle here, once you see that, I tend to stay away from stocks once they do that. You really got to let them settle down. This one does settle down nicely, breaks the low of the pre-market 321.42, and then look at this drop all the way down to 317. So again, nice drop there on Facebook. Does do a double bottom here, guys, believe it or not, and it does get back above the VWAP and almost towards the high of the day in this run. Back to the VWAP again, and then another shot into finally towards the end. We did get towards that high of the day on Facebook. So again, a very nice range throughout the day here. Nice bounce early on around that 10:30, 11 time frame. Is great to find these reversals. And Facebook was just textbook yesterday. Here's Apple. Apple had a nice drop early on. After that, didn't do a whole lot, right? After 11, you got a couple of breakouts here towards the VWAP. But again, this drop here was very nice, guys, all the way down to 141. And then late after hours is where the action starts here on Apple, guys. Look at this drop. A bigger move than it did in the actual trading day. So Apple definitely in play today. Already 1.1 million shares traded. Again, not so good news as Jared mentioned earlier today for these guys. So we'll see what's going on with them. I will be sure to have these guys on our list this morning. All right, heading over to the overall market data, market pulse. Norm, what's happening this morning?
Inflation. It's not transitory. CPI just came in at 5.4% year over year. And core CPI came in hotter than expected as well. Dropped the market on heavy volume. We'll see how that continues. That just came out 6 minutes ago, right when we first started. Anybody that goes shopping for their family knows they're paying more and more money for whatever it is. But you saved 16 cents on your July 4th barbecue. FOMC minutes come out at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Should be interesting as well to see what the Fed talked about behind closed doors in regard to that very subject. So let's see.
It's going to be very interesting, guys, for sure. We'll see how these numbers are going to play out. Let's take a look what we have on our gappers list this morning, starting with bring this down a little bit here. Let's start with removing our list from yesterday. And JSPR, we've seen this before. I believe we've seen this before, gapping up. It wasn't great. 12 million shares flow. 1 minute looks horrible. 5 minute looks even probably worse. Yeah, nothing happening here. Up 21%. But again, it's just, was this a SPAC maybe trying to get going? Is that what it is? That's what it looks like.
It's a biotech that recently IPO'd. Or no, excuse me. It is a SPAC. I was looking at something else. Yeah, it is a biotech. It recently de-SPAC'd. There you go.
Yeah. So
Float data's 12 and a half-ish. It seems that could be wrong. Sometimes the data feed isn't right on these de-SPACed companies for a while. So
yeah.
not looking great though either way.
No, anyway you slice or dice, that's not looking good. Here's KOSS, guys. We had this on our list before in the past. It is up 12%, 1.5 million, 3.9 million shares flow. I mean, I wish the pre-market action was a little more active. Yesterday seemed to have a big day. Oh no, it didn't. It was all after hours. Well, right before the close, you got this breakout all the way to 21. Really, with not a whole lot of action in the actual intraday. Intraday did nothing. So I'm not sure what the news is. Maybe something good that can continue today, but this pre-market action is not showing us anything great. It probably can get better. I mean, it's got 1.5. There's definitely some news out because you don't do this.
It's memeing, and they've got some patent trial things going on. So I don't know if it's on rumors or something. I haven't dug a whole lot. Yeah, this one traded like crazy when Wall Street Bets just started cranking up, and GME first hit everybody's radar and all that.
Yes, I remember this February. You guys know we had a bunch of these stocks that just took off. I think AMC was one of them. GameStop. It's just a whole bunch of them. And then they, if you look at the daily, a couple of times they try to redo that again in June here. So
maybe we're starting another time.
Yeah,
who knows?
Yeah, maybe it's every
every
quarter.
Get their stranded astronauts.
Is it every quarter we have one of these? I mean, we should get the schedule. We got to talk to Wall Street Bets, see if they can share that with us.
How long can a stranded astronaut last in space before they perish?
Not too long, but you know what? Their body does not decompose. So maybe if we go back up there, pick them up.
Can they last from June?
No way. Okay. No way. Deep pockets to be able to last from June, guys. But unfortunately, fortunately, we have the great traders are not holding anything up there in space, waiting to get picked up. Never a good look. KOSS, guys. We're gonna put it here as a low flow. It could get going. We've seen some squeezes out of it. We've seen some possible plays. Let's see. It's not looking great right now. Any was a short yesterday, was actually pretty decent. Again, I didn't even look at it. I don't think we had shares for short. We do today. Maybe we had like 20. Yeah, you know what? We had a very low amount. I think it was like 25,000, which is basically nothing. Today, we only have 650, which for the amount of shares we're trading here, that's also not a lot, guys. 650,000. That's not a whole lot for the way this thing is moving already with 5 million shares traded. Daily looks a little bit interesting. Maybe we can get something out of this. Pre-market is active, of course. You have 5 million on here. What's the flow for this 54? I'm going to put it as a possible. We'll come back and see how that's looking. They definitely got the volume. They're up 7%. They should be somewhat active this morning. Here is Plug. Big day yesterday, guys. Yes, this is the one that was on our secondary list. Actually did okay and had an amazing intraday trade here. They're up 6.2 this morning with 2.4 million, just breaking through some of these daily levels nicely. Plug is definitely in play this morning. We'll keep that on there. Let's see if that can continue. Relay, however you want to call this here, they are up 5.8. Is this what this is? I don't know.
New nickname for it. Hope it sticks around.
There you go, Therapeutics. And they are up 5.8, 100,000. I mean, some big move here. Not great volume. Daily also looks horrible, guys. Just nothing good here. I'm not going to add it to my list. I mean, this is just not enough volume to put it on our list here, and it just looks horrible at the moment. Be big. What's going on with these guys? Let's click on that again. Here we go. Ended green yesterday, looking to possibly continue today on this run. The pre-market activity on this thing, man, and it's just horrible.
Interesting daily. I'll give it that.
Yeah, it
is. Pre-market stinks.
It really does, man. You know what? They didn't have a great pre-market action yesterday, and they managed to somewhat have a nice, beautiful breakout here. Even after hours, they kept going. Is there any news on this move here?
I don't see anything fresh, man.
Yeah. All right. again, that's not a bad intraday trade yesterday. Not bad at all. We'll put it as we'll put it on here. We'll come back to it. It's not like we have a whole lot today anyway, so we can see that we can have space to take a second look at that. SLI, we've seen this before, guys. Horrible trading stock. We'll skip on this. DATS, 11 million shares float. Daily looks good, guys. Daily looks good here for a possible continuation. It is a little bit extended. You do have the volume 2 million, but this is the problem with DATS, and we've seen it more often than not, is that you have the entire day where it does nothing, and the breakout really happens around 4 o'clock. You get this breakout here that continues into the market close, right? So entire day you did nothing, and then you had this breakout. I mean, I'm not the type of trader that's going to wait all day for this move here. Not typically my style. And then if we look at the day before, I mean, it is not that clean, guys. It really is not. So we got some volume today. Daily looks interesting. They managed to close, although they have horrible intraday trading, they managed to do some pretty good stuff on their daily, right? The longer term type play here. It looks great. I'm not going to add it. I'm going to keep it off the list for now. GRWG gapping down this morning, 9.5, 116. Ron, that's great. I'll share that a little bit later with you too. That's hilarious. GRWG here, down 9.5, 116,000. Just him. doesn't look clean. Say it again.
That's Ron.
That's him.
Yeah, he used to pilot for reconnaissance aircraft, I believe.
Oh, nice. Also, that's actually okay. Sweet, man. Nice. GRWG here, guys, down again. I just don't see anything clean, and we've seen this on our list before, guys. It doesn't look great. It doesn't never trace good anyway. CRSP, this is what we have going on here, down 8.4, 120,000. Pre-market, very choppy right now. Spread is insane. I don't recall having this one on our list, Norm. Have we?
It has before.
It has. Okay, I don't. Yeah. All right. Volume.
I've not traded it. I don't really recall trading it.
Flows at 70 million, so not bad.
Switzerland. It's out of Switzerland. Usually that keeps me away from it.
Yeah.
So
they definitely not doing well today, guys. Down 8.4. I don't like the spread right now. That could get better, at the market open, but it's 45 cents on a $90 stock. And the reason why I think it might not get better is because look at the daily volume they're getting. I mean, they're dropping from 110 to 1.2. That's an $8 move there almost. And you traded 1.7 million shares, right? And that's mostly the average that you're getting on this stock. That usually ends up being very, very choppy intraday action, and I'm concerned with that there, especially with the spread is not really tight there. NRXP this morning down 8.2, 206,000. They had a decent day yesterday. It looks like on the daily as far as that. Pre-market action doesn't have anything going on right now. I don't think this thing is really in play. Let's look at the daily yesterday. Ran up nice the entire day. I'm just not sure if they have any more juice left for today. NRXP, I believe we just looked at that. So the next one's NTRB. This one, this is just pure garbage, guys. We have get the dumpster truck, get the garbage trucks out. I mean, it is not looking great today as far as this gappers list. So, we need your help. Norm, what do you have this morning that you like?
I've got a couple. And Jay, I'm sorry to steal it from you, but I had it in my head too. MGM, after that breakout, looks like it might be nice for continuation.
Yes.
Not doing anything pre-market. Same story yesterday, so it's a sit and watch, but I think it's a good one to have on the list. JP Morgan had earnings this morning, kickoff earnings season, not doing much right now. That might turn into something tradable later. And then let me see if this OCGN.
How did OCGN do yesterday?
I didn't watch it yesterday.
I had a secondary.
But nice little breakup, flag, pop, and then got choppy. But that could be a continuation as well. It's
and it's strong. Yeah, and strong here. OCGN.
So that's what I got.
Excellent. And I know I wanted to keep I'm not sure if anybody mentioned it yet, but Apple, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that one, guys. Just interesting stuff happening there, especially with the news. I think they're rolling production or something pulling it back, or they cannot make, I don't know, they're reducing the numbers of production, which is never a good thing. The investors do not want to hear that.
The iPhone?
Yeah, it's just something, right?
Yeah, that's chip shortage stuff. So that's
okay.
Bueno.
I thought it was because it was the same phone, so people figured I'd stay with this phone and a half. So it's the exact same thing.
It's chip shortage. They can't get the materials to make the things.
Yeah. Now I wonder how much of that stuff is already, because we know this. This is not anything new. So I wonder how much that is going to affect the stock. We'll see. Guys, let's go over to the chat. See what you guys have this morning. Starting with Honey Badger. You're giving us Delta this morning. Honey Badger, Delta. Let's see what's going on here. Down 1.7. Yes, it's a good drop. I like the daily on Delta, guys. Here, if we can, drop from here, that can be a nice short if we get the volume going. And actually, 468 for Delta is not bad. I'm just gonna take a look at American Airlines, see what these other ones are doing. Yeah, Delta's not bad. I like the daily, guys, a lot actually on Delta. For a possible short if we can break through some of these levels. Let's head down over to Hammond. You're giving us Delta as well. Also Toro giving us Baba. Let's take a look at Baba. Baba this morning is pretty much flat. We seem better pre-market activity. I know the daily looks rather interesting here for a possible loss of this level, but I'm gonna keep it off my list for now, man. I think it's not in play as much as we've seen this. I mean, we had some pretty nice moves on this thing, and those moves usually started with a very nice pre-market action. Right? I'm not seeing that today. WTRH, the 1.8 million shares traded. This is brutal, guys. This is brutal. I mean, just look at this. Look at this 5-minute chart here. I mean, no, this is more of a penny stock. You do not want to be involved in this, man. No. Let's move down. BX the borrow, or BX the ticker? No, I'm not sure what that is. That's not coming up. It is coming up now. It took a while because this is just not looking good. My platform did not want to bring this one up. Guys, that's not in play. Only 1,000 shares traded. Let's move on here. GM or good morning? No, it must mean good morning because GM not looking that good right now. Besides the daily, actually, I take that back. The daily does look like it wants to break out here. They have 782,000. I'm not seeing that. Probably a couple of block trades are not being recorded just yet. But the daily looks good. Yeah, let's take a possible on this one. WTRH, no, we looked at that, guys. No good. Fuel cell this morning. Daily looks good, guys. We've got some volume here, 866,000. How did you do yesterday, man? Just pure chop yesterday. Look at this. Now, probably scalping play if you got in very early. You have to have a great entry. It's got to be, your timing's got to be insane. The day before, they had a good day. That did not translate to yesterday at all, or continue on to yesterday at all. So, not sure, man. I think I'm going to keep it off the list for now. I think we have some other better opportunities at the moment. A-Firm, are they moving? Are they in play? No, volume is very light right now. Daily looks like it wants to break out here, but again, just no volume at the moment. And even when they get volume, they're really not looking all that good. Apple, we do have on deck, guys. I love the daily on this here. They're down 0.75 right now, 1.3 million. So they got the volume. We know they're going to move. We'll definitely keep an eye on these guys. Plug was great yesterday. Yeah, we have Plug already here. Such a great move yesterday, guys. Intraday this morning, very active. We're already 2.6 million, up 6%. Definitely in play. One of the better pre-market activities we have this morning. Delta, we have as a possible. Fuel cell. I don't like fuel cell right now, guys. I see a lot of you guys throwing this one out. I'm not feeling the pre-market action on this one. Also, I'm not a big fan of this one, so I'm a little bit biased against this stock. I don't like the way the intraday trades on this one. It's a little bit difficult to read the price action, so I usually keep it off my list if I can find something better to watch, right? MGM is good. We have that one on there. CCJ. What is CCJ? No, a good day yesterday, maybe a continuation. Yeah, very light on volume on here. Let's see, yesterday, again, great day yesterday. Possibly if you can get another continuation today, likely not going to happen. I don't see it happening right now. DATS, I believe we looked at this already, and this is just, again, it's just such a horrible trading stock. Their daily looks great, man. It really does. But look what happened yesterday, right? It just chomps. You have one pop in the morning. after some chop, and it just chops around the entire day until you have this breakout here. Don't get me wrong, there is some great volume on this 2.1 million, and you do have an opportunity to get to 19 if this thing can pick a direction. Is it going to pick a direction? I mean, look at the way this thing is trading. So I'm not sure I want to keep it on my list right now, guys. MU dropped quite a bit. Was it yesterday? Yeah, MU dropped yesterday. I saw that after hours here. So they had a nice red day, breaking some levels here. They could be the sleeper for today. Again, I think this is more chip shortage as well, Norm. Forgot what their issue was, but yeah, let's put MU on here. This could be something. I mean, they had a nice drop yesterday, losing some daily levels on here, and they have been taking quite a bit of a hit since the beginning of the year here. Okay, cool. Let's stop here. Let's take a look over at our YouTube chat. What do we have? True Story, BNGO. BNGO is not giving us anything good right now. We'll skip on that. Facebook. Do we have Facebook? Facebook could be a good possible. It's just so much going on. Jared was talking about this earlier too. There might be some people finding value here at 324. Who knows? But Facebook could be a good possible. It was great yesterday, so we'll see. MU we have on deck. CCL. Let's take a look at that one from Sakaria. Thank you. Almost 0.5%. No, not really in play, guys. This is CCL. I got to remind myself, you need heavy volume. You're not seeing that right now. And if you don't get the heavy volume in the pre-market, just look out for it in the scanners, right? Let the scanners tell you that this thing is in play. Right now, I do not see this in play at all. Yeah, we do have any as a possible Triple H. No, you're going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. Cool. Tesla slowly but surely just grinding up against the higher levels here, up against above 800 now, up against 810. Maybe this thing wants to continue. I mean, the pre-market is not great. Wasn't great yesterday, but it managed to, make it's an all-time high. No, right? Is it all-time highs?
No.
We up to the 900s. I forgot about that. So I don't know, man. I don't think it's really in play. I'll keep it off the list for now. I'm looking at NEO just in case anything's happening there. That's not in play neither at the moment. And the great thing is that we know these tickers, right? If they get volume, they hit our scanners, we can tune into them. And if anybody else is watching them from the moderators, the community, they can call it out and take advantage. But I'm gonna leave space for some other stuff on here. SoFi, I don't like the way this thing trades at all. So I'm gonna keep it off my list, guys. If you like this one, you can put it on there. Couple of really good days here as far as the daily, right? These two at least compared to everything else. Look how choppy and how garbage this is. But the last 2 days, they managed to put two green bars there, two nice green bars there. But this morning, I'm not looking to add them to my list. GWH. Just two more, guys, because we do have to get to announcements. GWH, no, nothing there. PROG, let's see here. PRG, if it wasn't such a low price stock, right, under $1 for the most part, they're up nicely, 8.6 here, 12 million shares traded. What's the float on this thing? PROG. What are we looking at? 103 million. Yes, the price action is going to be a little funky at this price range. A couple of days here have been good. I don't know if they have any news or anything, but again, just for me personally, this type of price range is difficult, right, to trade. So yeah, and the level 2 is difficult to read. So look how the stacks up this thing is going to get, and that's only now. Wait till the market opens to see how crazy this thing is going to be if they're going to be messing around with that 12 million shares traded there. So I'm not sure.
Funny as FinViz has their float at 20 million, 21 million. 20? Yeah, 20.98. Interesting.
See if it's actually a lower float, it could be better than a 103. 103, the movement is going to be weird, but
it also shows, what is your short float over there? Because on FinViz, 51.22%.
Here is only 6%.
That's weird.
Yes, that's a very big difference.
A lot of times you can find things that are off, but that's a lot.
Yeah, so you're off by a lot there, float and short. So I'll tell you this though, if FinViz is correct, this becomes a lot more interesting. A lot more interesting if you want to trade this this stock, especially with that higher short float there percentage. All right, guys, let's stop here. Let's get over to announcements. We'll come back and fine tune this list. We got a couple in here that have some good potential to get going.
All right. Kyle's webinar should be posted soon if it's not already. And that was on part 2 of his advanced hotkeys for risk management. Next week, Eamon, special time, 5 p.m. How to trend trade will be his subject. All right. Tonight, 5 p.m., we have the wonderful Kreda. She'll be talking about overcoming your money mindset blocks. And then next week, Nada, I've got to stop getting these back to back because it's hard for me to get through this in the mornings when I'm not fully caffeinated. But Nada's going to be talking about creating a successful mindfulness meditation routine. Another thing that Kreda spoke about, what was that, Monday? Wow, time flies. Just a reminder that all the super chat donations and stuff on the site will be matched dollar for dollar by Andrew. From this month, they'll be going to the National Breast Cancer Foundation. If you want to participate in the member trade of the day, take a trade of the week, take a screenshot of your best trade of the day, post it on Twitter, tagging @BearableTraders, @MikeB_BBT, and @NormB. BT also use hashtags BBT Family, Day Trading, and Stock Market. We will pick a winner each day and announce it in the room and on Twitter in the afternoon. All those trades of the day are eligible for trade of the week, which is voted on by the team over the weekend and announced on Monday. If you're watching on YouTube, haven't tried out the room, you can try out the test drive. It will only bill you once. It doesn't recur. Go to bearabletraders.com, scroll down the page. You'll find that test drive now button. Click that and then use premarket24 as your promo code to get the discount. And it also gives you access to the Monday Night Live onboarding and technology classes that we have every week with Kyle, Carlos, Mike. So also, don't forget, if you want to get access to all those webinars and the archives of all the webinars we've done in the past, use the promo code FALL40, and that'll get you 40% off the annual elite membership. Kreda, speaking of, there she is. How are you today?
Hi, Norm. I'm good, thanks. Hope your week's going well.
Great, thank you. Yes, it is. What are we talking about today?
Today is self-compassion, so a good topic for midway through the week in case anyone's week has started off badly. So I'll just jump into it. So today, we want to speak about self-compassion, and this is a word or a topic that gets thrown about a lot, but a lot of people don't actually believe in the power of this. And this is coming from working with so many people on a one-to-one basis where people have the tendency to beat themselves up. You know, they're talking negatively to themselves in their heads if they're not meeting certain standards, or maybe if they're, they make a mistake in trading, they do something wrong. A lot of people have a tendency to, I'm just going to call it beat themselves up, but we know what that means in this context. And the irony is that actually this practice is very detrimental to high performance. So actually the people who reach the peak of success in different performance domains all have a trait, or most of them have a trait in common, and that's a growth mindset. So I'm actually going to speak about the growth mindset next Wednesday, just to go into it in a bit more detail. But just to introduce it here, it's this concept by Carol Dweck, and it's the idea that, we're not born with fixed skills and we're either good at something or we're bad at something. It's the idea that actually if we approach a growth mindset to everything that we're trying to learn or everything that we're trying to do, then we approach it with the idea that if we're not good at something now, we can learn the skills and we can become better at it in time. And so this growth mindset is what's really important to reach the peak of your performance in trading, or even just to achieve the goals that you have in your personal life. So the idea of a growth mindset. And when you lack self-compassion, you're actually driving yourself more towards a fixed mindset. So lacking self-compassion, like we said, it's beating yourself up when you don't meet a certain standard. And I'm actually arguing that a lot of people, I think, have a kind of subconscious belief that this is somehow a noble trait or a noble practice to do, that it's a noble thing to, or an honorable thing to actually beat yourself up when you're not meeting a certain standard. And it might be a good point to check in with yourself and actually just question whether is that a kind of unconscious belief that you have. And this can come back to our conditioning. So if you think back to when you were in school or you were a child, and there were certain standards that were set out by your parents or, you know, in the school system, your teachers, and you were supposed to meet them. And if you didn't meet them, you probably got in trouble. So whatever that looked like, maybe you were grounded, maybe in school you didn't do your homework and, you know, you got extra homework the next day or something like that. So there was some punishment for not meeting a certain standard. But the irony of that is that people use punishment in order to condition a behavior. So when your teacher, you know, gave you extra homework for not doing it on a Monday or something, they were trying to condition the behavior that you would then do your homework on a more consistent basis. Or if your parents gave out to you for, I don't know, messing up the sitting room, they're trying to condition the behavior that you're going to be more tidy. So we learn this practice of punishing ourselves at a young age. And the purpose is actually just to condition a behavior. But most likely when we're younger, it's that because our parents don't have loads of time, maybe there's 3 kids running around, or in a school, a teacher has a class of like 30 kids. There's not the time to actually come up with a more sophisticated, refined and empowering way to condition the behavior that they want to elicit. As adults, we have the power and the choice to actually decide how we motivate ourselves and drive ourselves forward. So as we carry this conditioning from childhood, we adopt the kind of beating ourselves up as the stick to drive us forward rather than the carrot. And we think that this is going to get results. And so we just unconsciously kind of continue that behavior. So you make some mistakes in trading, you deviate from your rules, you beat yourself up, you give out to yourself, you dwell on it for the day. But actually, adopting a more self-compassionate mind frame and approach will actually help you to reach your goals better. So if you think that instead of beating yourself up for a mistake, you adopt the growth mindset, you first identify that you've made the mistake, so you take accountability for it. Then you identify what are the things I can do better next time. So where is the learning in this that I can just apply next time in order to improve things to get me closer to my goals? That's an example of self-compassion and a growth mindset. Whereas if you actually dwell on it and beat yourself up, you're expending energy that could be used in a more empowering way to bring you closer to your goals. And so it's actually counterintuitive to high performance and even to happiness if we're talking about, you know, achieving personal goals. So I hope that I'm convincing you that this isn't just a nice airy-fairy topic and, you know, an excuse for everyone to go and sit on the couch and eat ice cream and not turn up to work. But that it's actually, the practice of self-compassion is actually something that can really help you in the pursuit of your trading goals and in your personal life. And self-compassion might look like giving yourself a break. So maybe telling yourself that you understand why X, Y, Z happened, and then what learning can I take from it? And so as a really quick little challenge for today, I'm just going to challenge people to add in at the end of their trading review in a day 3 things that I did well today. So you're actually starting to promote that habit of self-compassion and giving yourself a pat on the back for things that you've done well. And then the second piece is to pick 3 things from over the course of the last year that you were really annoyed with yourself about, and maybe it's still kind of sitting there in your mind, at the back of your mind, and you go back to it every so often and you still feel annoyed at yourself. And try and reframe those instances or events through the lens of self-compassion and the growth mindset, and just see how that can shift your thinking about those events. And then if that works for you and you find it powerful, try to adopt that on a day-to-day basis in your trading and in your life in general.
Excellent, excellent words of wisdom. And about the kids, it's fitting. A very quick, funny story. About a week and a half ago, I picked my son up from school. I was going to the grocery store to go shopping. I put myself in a stupid traffic spot where I know that I was going to be stuck for a while. And I, for a split second, forgot he was in the back. And I said to myself, F me, out loud. And he goes, Daddy, what's wrong? And I forgot he was there, and he's, oh, it's nothing, buddy. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. And he said, you're okay? I said, yes. He goes, why would you say a bad word to yourself? And I'm thinking the way that you described that, talking down on myself in that situation, and his little head couldn't comprehend why you would be down on yourself. So anyway, It reminded me of that when you mentioned that. So awesome. Thank you very much.
Son is wiser than me. He should be up here doing the talking.
He's my risk manager, so he's occupied in a different position. Thank you, Creda. Have a great week. We'll see you next. We'll see you tonight, right, at 5 p.m. Eastern, and then we'll see you next Monday for the more pre-market show. Take care.
All right. Thank you very much, Creda. Amazing stuff. All right, guys, let's get to it here. Let's look at our list. We have Plug on deck, which looks very good right now. 3 million shares traded. Guys, before we move on, let's give a big thumbs up over on YouTube for Creda for joining us every Monday and Wednesday. Really appreciate her giving us her insight and getting us through the week, right? Not just only starting us off on Monday, but also coming in midweek and kind of giving us that extra needed support that us traders definitely need. So thank you so much for that. Here's Plug, guys. Great pre-market action, 3 million, up 6.4. Great day yesterday. Looking for another good one today. Hopefully we can get some great pre-market, not pre-market, we're getting great pre-market action, but great opening action on this one. Either way it goes, right? Even if it's midpoint right now, between some levels on the daily, right? I'm going to just mark this down since we're talking about it. We have one at 33 here. We have another one over here at 34 and 35. But here, midpoint of this candle, we're kind of midpoint in some areas here, right? And actually where the price is right now, 31.68, is a minor area of support and resistance. It's not a major one, but it's a minor one here. You got some wicks bouncing off of that. You got some support happening off of here as well. So 31.64, definitely throw that in there. And in the pre-market, you can see that now it's playing very nice, right? Support, more support, lost it, now acting as resistance, looking to break out, get above the VWAP, and hopefully it can. So we'll see. If it's going to be a long, it's going to be great. If it can be a short, it's going to be great. It's in a good area right now for any way he wants to decide to go here. Low of the pre-market sitting at 30.92, slam a level there, also being confirmed here by the daily as well. You can see right on there. So that is looking very nice. Big again, active day yesterday. Today looking very active as well. 1.8 here in the pre-market. So we definitely got the volume. We're going to be breaking out here. Possible continuation on it. So I'm going to keep it on my list today. I think there's some good potential on here. High of the pre-market is all the way at 699. So we'll slam it there. Looks like right now we're trying to get going up in that direction. We'll see if it can get going. And then up above the $7 there, we do have 774. Great area of support. We got a lot of support happening there. A little bit of resistance, right? Usually these levels flip-flop. There'll be support and then resistance and vice versa. We're seeing that right now. And if we were to keep going, we got a minor area right here at 871 and then a major level coming up over at 957. Tons of daily slamming up against that was prior support also, and then became resistance one more time there as well. So that's big. MGM, guys, again, had such an amazing day yesterday, and the pre-market action looked exactly the same, right? They had a catalyst, right? I believe they had a catalyst yesterday. It was an upgrade. What was the upgrade number? Do you guys remember what was the actual upgrade dollar amount? I know it was something very high, and man, they played out very nice yesterday, going from 45 to 48. It was 60, 60, 63. Okay, so it's up there. We still got some ways to go. If that's going to be a very accurate upgrade, and I believe it was done by one of the big guys, right? Not somebody in some small time company. So. Right now, levels, we have highs and lows from the last two trading days right on here. Yes, JP Morgan did it. Who upgraded it? I was just curious. Goldman Sachs. All right. Okay. 46 here is good. Towards the bottom, guys, highs and lows from the last two trading days. You see that right on there. Let's look at the left here and see what levels we have left. Previous day close. Are we hitting all-time highs on MGM? Get out of here. I believe we are, guys. Yeah, all-time highs on MGM. We have, man, look at this run. What's that? $4, $6. We're now at 46. Wow, what a move, guys! All-time highs. I don't see anything else above this level here, so we're looking pretty good right now. High of the pre-market, which will be your all-time high, is 49.30. So we'll slam a level there. All right, we don't have much else to go by here. If we look at MGM, again, there's not really anything else in here. So that's all you have right now. JP Morgan, guys, very active this morning. It's right now low of the pre-market, sitting at a 164 on the dot. So we'll throw a level there. Again, pretty much flat right now. We were green for a little bit here, now in the red. This dropped to the red, pretty interesting, right? Coming back towards the low of the pre-market one more time. Their daily looks very, very interesting, guys, here as well. This area of support that we have here, trying to hold on to that. Looks like getting a nice little bounce there. Towards the bottom, 162.78. Another great level down here at 160.96. Look at this great area of resistance. I mean, this resistance lasted what? Is that 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, almost a month there? So again, that 160 level has tons of touches on there. That's going to be important. Towards the top, you got some of the highs and lows from the last 2 trading days. In between here, you got a minor level, not major. It's not a 170, 170, 150 like you have up here, but a 168.32. You got some days opening, closing, and bouncing off of that there. So I'm going to mark that down in case we can get above this 167 right here. This is a great area of resistance. That is where your last 2 high of the pre-market and also the high of yesterday are sitting at. So let's see if we can get back up there this morning. Trying to get into the green. This is great volume, by the way, guys. Let's note that 452,000 for JP Morgan in the pre-market is a great volume for that type of stock. They normally do not trade that whole all that volume. Here's a OCGN, guys. Could be active. 1 million shares traded. Possible continuation today. Pre-market action doesn't look great for this 1 million shares that are being traded right now. Let's move this down over here to the low of the pre-market, 170, 870. We do have 903. Where's 903 coming from? That's the daily. 903. Yeah, it looks like 903. Where is that? Probably right here. Okay, so it's a daily level, very close to the previous day close line. Above that, we do. You know what? Let's make this better. Let's remove these levels because I see some are overlapping already. For example, the one we had here was overlapping with the previous day close. The one we had up here was overlapping with yesterday's high. So 870 is all I added right now. You can add the high of the pre-market over at 922. And if we scroll to the left here, what else do we have towards the top? If we can get going, this daily does not look great, but there are some levels on here. We can definitely see a level right there, 1051. You have a minor level around 989-ish right there. You have a level, a couple of days opening and closing right around that area and bouncing off of that. So I think that's pretty good right now for OCGN. Very active pre-market action. Let's see if we can get going here. Here is Apple this morning. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this one. Hold on, let's get our daily in check. Here we go. All right, so daily there's zoomed in a little bit better. Low of the pre-market at the moment sitting at 139.93. Towards the bottom of that, we do have 138.43. And I think that's pretty good for right now, guys. Highs and lows above the price action at the moment, plus the previous day close right in this area of major support, guys. So I got a lot of support happening right around here. We did below here in about 3 days, found a new level, and then quickly came above that. So we're kind of flirting with around that level right now. Let's see if we can get back into the green territory. 1.6, guys, tons of volume for Apple. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have exactly 6 tickers here. 9:15. Let's get to our moderators lineup, guys. Let's see what we have going on there. As I bring this over on YouTube, hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so already. Consider subscribing if it's your first time joining us for the pre-market prep. We do it every Monday through Friday right here on this channel. So let's bring over our moderators list. Looking forward to see what we have today. The list, it's funny, the gappers list was pretty bad. But we did find a couple of stocks that were not on our gappers list that look very good. So looking forward to today's open. Apple for Thor, SPY, Plug, Delta, secondary list, MGM and A-Firm on there. Dima's looking at Apple, Plug, SoFi, Amen, potential shorts, American Airlines, and 4 potential longs, Riot and Coin. A couple of IPOs and SPACs opening up today. Take a look at them right here from Peter. Tiffany's looking at Plug, Apple, JP Morgan, Simon over at Lucid, LCID, Bank of America, Open, and Baba for him today. Mike is looking at scanners. We'll see what he can pick up from those. Peter has AMD, JP Morgan, Apple, Plug, MGM, and Delta. So we have a very, very similar list, guys, on some of the stuff we are all looking at. Oh, here is Brian with the buzzer beater. A-Firm, DATS, DATS, BBIG, CRSP, and Apple for him this morning. So not bad. Secondary list, we have Facebook. We have a Delta on here, which is, Delta's active against this level. Might be a better one than B big. I have B big on here because I always take it off, but today they might do something. We'll have to see how they play out. I mean, they got 2 million shares traded. They're up 8%. We just need them to pick a direction and give us a nice clean move at the open if they even can do that. So guys, over on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We will see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. starting with Engineering the Markets by Jared. And if you want to give us a shot, definitely do the pre-market 24. You can join us in the chat room for an entire week for $24. So if you haven't checked out our chat room, our environment, definitely do that. You get access to the chat room. You can see us trade live throughout the entire day. So thank you so much, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one, everyone.